Welcome!
Welcome to the Omniverse of Nick, and part 3 to What If Roman Reigns Was in The Walking Dead. Before we get into it, be sure to check out the Omniverse's homepage, where our channel mascot Omni will direct you to the Discord in both Google Docs, as well as everything the Omniverse has to offer, along with smashing the like button, subscribing to the Omniverse of Nick, sharing the Omniverse around, turning on all Omniversal notifications, and commenting future requests and expectations in the comments section. With all that said, let's begin. Last time we left off, Daniel was after a mysterious figure who looked oddly similar to a final boss, question mark? And now he won't be heading back to the dam, but Strand is still heading back because there's no walkers at the hotel, because somebody took care of them before the two of them arrived. So while Daniel's after, him, we gotta focus on what's really important here. The bloodline going to all the communities. And Troy. We go to the Auto Ranch, where Jeremiah, Madison, Nick, and everybody are talking about getting Troy back. Jeremiah just doesn't give a frick. And everybody else is talking about how much of a threat Walker's tribe is, with the bloodline enforcing more control and dominance, and how they really can't take them on. And Jake and Nick get to talking and everything like that, but the planning, or lack thereof, doesn't get very far, because fires begin to launch at some of the houses, just like Cannon. And then Jake gets apprehended. And then we see Ophelia encounter Nick and Alicia, but it doesn't seem like she wants to actually kill them. Even she's surprised by the enforcement of what's about to happen. Jeremiah gets out a gun ready to fight, but then gets super kicked by one Uso, super kicked by another Uso, and then double kicked by both Usos. And now he's on the ground, wondering what's going to happen to him next, as he looks on to what he sees as Walker's people, along with several members of the bloodline, a few of which just put him to the ground, are currently attacking his ranch. Then Madison gets a gun out, as Naomi tells her, "You better proceed with caution." Then Jake steps in front of his father as Walker, Lee, and several men surround them and tell them they better not do a dang thing if they value their lives. Jeremiah says, "We're not surrendering the ranch. I sure as heck am not. So you can do whatever you want." And then he just gets shot in the freaking head by Naomi, who starts cackling like a mad witch. Jake, surprised by this, doesn't know what to do at this point. So all he attempts to do is just beg for his life and everyone here that if this is about the land and their old petty feud, just take it. Or, not so much take it, but like, can't they make a peace treaty? Can they make a deal? Jake's usual, what he's always tried to do. But Walker says there's no need for peace, and there's no need for land. Walker goes on to say that if it was such about that, they wouldn't even be talking right now. What Walker is now here for is something Roman Reigns helped him to see, and what Walker helped Roman Reigns to see ever since his people and the bloodline team together. This is no longer about land, and this is no longer about fighting. This is about total power and acknowledgement, and bringing the world under the bloodline and Walker's people. to make a new world and bring back a new world order. And that starts with this community becoming a part of the bloodline and everyone here submitting and acknowledging the bloodline, himself and Roman Reigns, or falling like the rest. And like Troy is currently getting the message of after the death of Roman Reigns's and their wise man. But Jake just is about to get out his gun and just scoffs at this drivel that Walker's spilling right now. He never took Walker for a minion to someone who he could just take over. But before he can do anything and before Walker and everybody else can try to kill him, Madison just shouts at him and demands that he stops and says, "We acknowledge you." Jake cannot believe what he just heard come out of Madison's mouth. And he's like, "What?" Madison just looks at him and says, "Jake, your brother Troy. Yeah, I hate his guts. We all hate him. But your father just died. Your brother is under their heel, and we've lost the ranch. We don't have this anymore." He's right. It isn't about the land anymore. It's not about fighting. We don't have to fully acknowledge them, but we can't fight them either. And Madison says that we acknowledge Roman Reigns. We acknowledge you guys, but that doesn't mean that we're going to serve you. But Jake just gets out a gun and is like, "No, I'm not listening to this anymore." Alicia and Nick tell him to stop. And Alicia is like, they did it. They were together. She tries to, soften Jake up by telling him this isn't the way. They cannot fight like this. There are way, 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 way less of them than the bloodline and Walker's people. And Nick is like, even Nick knows, since he's friends with Jake, that he is one of the main ones to get Jake to stand down. And Jake starts to soften up, but he's still not listening to this. Madison says, like she said, they can acknowledge Roman Reigns and Walker as their tribal chief or whatever. But Madison wants to make a deal of her own. Not a peace deal, not anything like that. An equal rights deal. And she gets out her gun and tells everybody to back off. This is between her and Walker. This is personal. So, her and Walker talk and says she and everybody will acknowledge Roman Reigns, the bloodline, as a savior for the world. Someone and some people that they can count on, but they're not going to serve and bow down to them. She wants this to be equal between all of them, that they work together. No one's above anybody else. Sure, Roman Reigns, Walker, absolutely, but not everybody. They all have to work together. And if they just bow down, it will destroy the world that they're building. It has to make sense to Walker and Roman Reigns and everybody. As for what else they're doing, whatever. They'll cross that bridge when they come to it. But Madison, she wants this to be equal between all of them. If Walker and everybody agrees to those terms, Madison and everybody, they'll acknowledge Roman Reigns and Walker. They can do that. But she doesn't want her people here, or anybody to just bow down. That's surrendering to the world that they live in. And surely Walker and Roman Reigns and the bloodline, surely they have to understand that. Walker smiles. And just like Roman Reigns said, Madison is probably the toughest woman he has ever laid his eyes on. And he thinks about this for a second. And he thinks that Roman Reigns would definitely agree to this deal, but also be ticked off that, Madison, everybody, they're acknowledging him. And what they're saying, what Madison's saying right now, it makes sense. And it's a pretty dang good deal if he does say so himself. So he agrees. But Roman Reigns has to agree to make it final. That's no guarantee, especially after what Troy Otto's going through. So he decides he's got a better idea. He tells the Usos, Jay and Jimmy, go back to their place, the gas station, their home, basically. The Black Ark, or whatever the place was called. And he tells the Usos to go back there and relay the message to their tribal chief and tell him what has happened here and that the ranch is theirs. And Walker says that while this deal is going to be finalized by the tribal chief, there's no telling of what's going to happen to not only the ranch, but Troy Otto, because honestly, he doubts that they even care about him in the first place, for one thing. And for two, this isn't the only place the bloodline went to. There's currently a dam that they've went to as well, which surely that the ranch and their people will have to think about and deal with at some venture. So, he agrees. The deal will be, they don't have to bow down, they don't have to listen to him, but they do have to acknowledge they are their saviors for what will make this world under, like, a new world order because of them. And Madison, it doesn't seem like Walker and the Bloodline are fully on board, but it does seem like a mutual understanding that nobody has to die besides the ones that already have. And then there was barely anybody in the first place besides Jeremiah and like a few others. So for now, they all just think about what they're going to do at the ranch and wait for word from Roman Reigns and what happens at the dam. Speaking of which, what will happen at the dam? Will Troy Otto acknowledge Roman Reigns in the bloodline? Will Reigns agree to this deal by Madison? And if they do take over the dam as well, what will happen whenever Strand comes back? And will Daniel find The Rock, the final boss, leading up to part 4 and the future of Reigns in The Walking Dead?
Now get out!
What?
Get out! Everybody get out!